Alrighty then. Here I am again with a special guest. Welcome back. And I have my guest here, Jessica. She's a dear friend and an incredible professional. And we're going to talk about something really, really important. You guys know about the process. We have to find the clients, we have to understand who we're serving, we connect with them, and then we convert. But I know that this first step can be hard, finding your clients. And before we find our clients, we need to understand who we really are. And I was talking with Jessica the other day, and I had this brilliant idea. I need her on a call. We need to talk about what she does, because she's incredibly amazing at what she does. And Jessica, thank you for accepting my invitation. Thank you for being here today.
It's an honor and a privilege. And Jack, you're an amazing man. And I love all the opportunities that we get to work together. And I am so grateful for your wisdom and friendship.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, what's your expertise. Because, I know you, but my viewers, they don't. And I want them to know you, because that's a privilege.
I'm going to start this off a little bit differently. And this is just an intuitive hit that I'm going off of right now.
Okay. I like different.
And so rather than asking me, tell me about what I do, I'll get there. I invite you to think about, who do you want to be known as? This was a lesson that was shared with me that comes from an indigenous culture practice. And you introduce yourself into the room as who you want to be known as. Okay. And every time I do it, it feels edgy, it feels vulnerable, it feels really uncomfortable, but it equally is aspirational.
Oh, okay. I like that.
So I want to be known as somebody who is a change maker, somebody who made the world a better place, somebody who walked into a room, she left it better than when she came in. I want to be somebody who makes a difference, who makes people smile, who is a community builder. Nice. I want to be known as somebody who's an adventurer, somebody who lives with honesty and integrity and kindness and grace. And then I invite each one of you who are listening to this, think about how you would introduce yourself into a meeting room. And every time I bring it forward, it's always a little bit different. But that's the essence of who I want to create and who I want to become. Now, my work is I'm a leadership and executive coach. I work from an integrative, holistic perspective. I have this crazy portfolio of training, everything from intuition, neuroscience, energy psychology, business coach training, leadership training. But it's taking a look at the whole person and being able to come in at multiple different entry points. And I love working on purpose, helping leaders build their own personal purposeful brand. And I also love working in using resilience as another pillar in which I work with, because purpose is what drives you. Resilience is the skills and the tools that you need to stay on track.
That's perfect. And it's exactly what we want to talk about, what I want to talk about today. And I like that. I like that introduction a lot. Like I said, I like different. And I'm always teaching my students and my clients the power of being innovative and being different and providing the second human need, which is uncertainty. So when I asked you, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then you came with a different statement, like, I'd like to do something different. I know I was hooked. And I know that all of my viewers, people watching this video, they felt like, oh, interesting. I want to. Well, she's not introducing herself. She's doing something. Okay, let's see what she does. I liked it. I love it. And it's got to do what we have to, what we'll be talking today, which is, and you are good and you do what you do in such a good way. And you talk about purpose. And I love that you mentioned that. And that's your expertise. Because when we are engaging and trying to sell our services and trying to be of service to our clients or potential clients, we tend to be distracted because we're focusing on the sale, on the client hunting, if you could put it that way, and we forget why we're doing that. So I think purpose is something that comes in, and there's a bit of a conflict when we are understanding who we are serving, because we don't understand who we really are. So I'd like to ask you this question for us to begin our conversation. When we are creating our bold statement, our promise, what we do and how we can help our clients, we often find ourselves confused because we don't really know what we should be promising or promoting to our clients, our audience. And what would be the first step for us to really understand, in your opinion, how to find our true selves in order to create, or maybe polish, improve, or maybe create from scratch a personal brand in the coaching industry? Is that a too complicated question?
It's a big question. There's a lot there. So I think in simple terms, my invitation, so to all of you who are learning about building and expanding your coaching business and have come up against some walls and challenges, the first thing I just want you to know is you're not alone. I have a PhD in that myself, in life, learning and evolving and growing myself as a coach and being able to bring myself and my services forward in the world. But back to your question, Jack, I think the first thing I would invite people to do is slow down to speed up. And that is the wisdom from one of my coaches, is slow down to speed up. So yes, we're so hungry to achieve the outcome, but if we don't build that foundation and do a good, strong job of that foundation, none of this is going to stick. Right. Yeah. And so in terms of getting to know who you are, like, I think we are not static beings. So as you evolve and grow and learn more about yourself and learn more about your business, this is going to evolve and change. But at the foundation, there's some pretty core pieces. So when I work with my clients, I have a few different entry points in where I kind of start to pull out some of these aspects and dimensions of themselves about who are you? And one that's going into stories. And I listen to these stories and I start to pull out themes and commonalities and reflect those back. And these stories are when these people are operating in their zone of genius. It's when they're on top of their game. And out of that, you start to see where their strengths are. You start to see where people are energized and where they feel valued and come alive. And this is an essence of your brand. So looking at your strengths and your gifts and who you are when you're operating in your zone of genius and what you're doing then is critical. Mm-hmm. You have a question, Jack?
Yeah, I did. I do have a question. I was just wondering, when you said that when you start pulling out the strengths and the expertise, the gifts, that's the essence of your personal brand. And I was just wondering, because I've seen that happening and I've gone through that myself, this process of discovering who you are through the overview of your strengths. What if the person doesn't see themselves as a strong person? What if they are feeling like the imposter syndrome kicks in and they feel like, okay, I know I can do some things to help my clients, but I don't see the strengths. It's not clear to me.
But that's why That's the magic of, I guess this is where I get to operate in my zone of genius, is because when you go through the stories, embedded in those stories are where the strengths are. So all I do is listen to them and throw them back at people, and start to make the connections between these disparate stories that they don't think there's any connection or any commonality.
That's what I
And
meant.
yet I can see a very succinct theme. And so when people start to see that inside themselves, a whole new energy comes alive. I also think it's a practice and skill. And yes, we have the self-saboteur. We are conditioned to never boast or be, be egotistical. So we've suppressed being able to see ourselves that way. So then there's also practices that I invite my clients to do, like self-acknowledgement. And it's not easy, simple, but not easy. But it's building a muscle. It's building those neural pathways, building that ability to go and see yourself in a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a combination of things. So it's having it reflected to you, but it's also building the muscle. So when I say self-acknowledgement, we have gratitude. So yes, I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for the food on the table. I'm grateful for my friends. All of those things are outside of me. And that's a very important practice in changing the neurochemistry of our brain, so we feel more joy.
Mm-hmm.
But self-acknowledgement is different. It's a different practice. And it's taking a look on a consistent basis, whether it's daily, that you look in a journal and going, okay, how can I acknowledge myself today? And acknowledgement isn't just like, oh, I completed a task. Acknowledgement is looking at so many different things. So it's, I made an edgy phone call today. I held the door for somebody at Starbucks.
Nice.
I, ran 3 kilometers further than I've ever run before. Like I, didn't want to go for a run, but you know what? I got my running shoes on and I went around the block. So I didn't give in. I didn't achieve what I wanted, but I acknowledged myself for showing up and trying.
Okay, got it. So you're saying that it's an exercise, it's a practice. We have to be acknowledging constantly, and have consistency, and then repeat it, put it.
It's awareness.
It's awareness.
It's building that awareness. If you really want to be authentic and have an authentic brand, you have to be really feeling that. You got to believe that. You got to be living that. And if we're not even clear on who our brand is and the value that we bring to the world, how are our clients going to pick up on that? So it's understanding what your gifts and strengths are, what your zone of genius is, what is the value that you bring to this world. And when you start to see and harness that energy, you become a powerful force. And you're far more powerful supporting the people that you want to support.
Right. So
and then,
okay, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that it's when you have that force, then you feel that you're capable of helping others, and then you can pass that knowledge on and ask the right questions. You feel empowered, I would say, when you feel that way, that force, like now you believe in yourself.
And again, it's a practice, and we don't start out as confident.
Yeah.
So fake it till you make it. Like, we don't start as confident. What we need to do is to be courageous. And you show up with good intentions, with courage to show up, to be a learner, to be humble, to be present and engaged with your clients. You're already of service.
Learn how to listen, right?
And being able to be in that space with other people, that is a gift.
It is.
And it is a privilege.
It is. What would be an exercise that you could recommend for us to do or practice in order to understand, or maybe be better at acknowledging all that on a regular basis? Would that be a recommendation?
Sure, I can give you One exercise I do with my clients that was given to me by one of my coaches, write down 75 things you can acknowledge yourself for.
Okay.
And see how that goes. You don't have to do it in one sitting. But try it. Build a spreadsheet, do it in a journal, do it on a piece of paper, do it in color markers, doesn't matter. Write down 75 things you can acknowledge yourself for.
Okay.
And there's a whole cross section of experiences in that. And I don't want to necessarily speak into those because I want people to have their own experience and not have an anticipated experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do that exercise, then the next level of that is taking that exercise and weaving into your daily ritual. So acknowledge yourself. I do it when I lie in bed at night before I go to sleep. Some people might write it in their day timer. Some people might put it on a spreadsheet. Like everybody's got a different way, but building this ritual around self-acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it at our dinner table and with my kids. I did it with my son's volleyball team. And I asked them after a game to acknowledge each person in the room for something about the game. And you could see my son rolling back his eyes going, "Oh my God, Mom, please don't make me do this.
What are you doing?"
What are you doing? And I asked the boys, who at that time were 13, 14, so completely uncomfortable. And one of the boys piped up and said, "I've never felt so appreciated in my life."
Wow.
And it costs you nothing. It's available 24/7. And so if you take that into a boardroom and acknowledge your team members and acknowledge people around the room, and you acknowledge everybody for something, and you acknowledge yourself, you do it at the dinner table. And let me tell you, when you do that, these barriers, these walls start to melt away. It's very powerful.
Wow. Oh, that's,
and it costs you nothing.
It's so good. Yeah. And we tend to forget some of the things that we learn about understanding who we really are and how we behave and how we react to the events that weren't accounted for. We learn some things, but we tend to forget and we don't do them. So I think you mentioned practice. I think that's the word, consistency. Do that all the time. I have a question about building your personal brand, like a genuine personal brand. See if you can help us. Many of my clients and my students, they have a difficulty towards finding their own niche. They've been learning, and I teach that too. Be more specific and understand who you want to serve, and then you speak directly to them. But some of my students, they know so much about so many things, and they feel a bit confused, a bit lost. They don't want to talk about one specific niche because they feel that they could help many others. So I think it's got to do with, like we mentioned earlier, about the strengths, their true essence, and how would you help them overcome this obstacle of confusion when they don't know who they want to help? Because they know, like, when you say the title, for example, life coaches, they're coaches of life, and life is just like, it's just too much. But and then they want to help people improve their lives, but you have to be a bit more specific. Not only the niche, the area of life, it could be life in general, but you need to narrow down and speak to a certain audience. But they don't want to do that. They struggle, they resist. How would you help them overcome this resistance? Is there something you could recommend?
Well, that's a really big question. Hard to. It's an individual base by basis thing. I think one of the things, if we can just kind of dial back a little bit, which will then lead me into the answer of your question. One is We also haven't talked about purpose. So
Right.
one of the things I do in building personal brand is working with people on building their purpose. Because that's your North Star, that's your guidepost, that's what's driving. This is your intrinsic fuel. Like it's the high octane fuel that you have that is a catalyst for everything else you do. And it is a filter in which you live by. It tells you what to say yes to and what to say no to. Now, in terms of being able, so you've got to wrap that in all those other things that we discussed, the skills, the strengths, the values, what's your zone of genius, all of those things. But in terms of kind of niche resistance and what the right answer is, and how to overcome that resistance, again, I think it depends on each person and where they're coming from and what is the driver of that resistance. But from a very general perspective, one of the best books I've ever read was Gandhi's autobiography. And it was not a book that I fully, it was a book that surprised me. It wasn't about what I thought it was going to be about.
What was the book?
Pardon me?
What was the book again? The
Gandhi's autobiography.
Oh, Gandhi. Okay. Okay.
And what I learned in that book was his whole life was an experiment. So he went into every situation, everything he was doing was an experiment. He didn't know the answer. He didn't have an attachment to the outcome. And he went and created the experiment. And then he learned from that. And then he evolved and pivoted. And then he went into the next experiment. And that's how he lived his life.
Love that.
It wasn't like he had this one all end all vision. Of course, he had a big vision, but it wasn't like he had a clear roadmap. He had something out here, and then he just conducted a lifetime and series of experiments and learned from them. And that was his pathway. So for those who are resistant in picking their niche, like I get that, that's hard to do. It evolves, it kind of comes to you, but experiment and see what works and see what energizes you and what doesn't. And who are the people that excite you? When you're working with clients and you're practicing, take a list and notice the qualities of the kind of people that energize you and notice the qualities of the ones that deplete you.
Yeah.
And those don't always articulate a niche, but they'll start to narrow the direction. Is that helpful?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. You mentioned that Gandhi had something here that he wanted to reach. Would that be his purpose in life?
It was something that allowed him to express his purpose.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So our purpose, there's a million different ways to look at purpose and different perspectives and ways to get there. So everybody's got to find their own path.
With the
I have a strategy and a process that works with people because it really gets into, it's kind of fun, it's quick. It's not this deep introspective work. It's a sorting process. And within half an hour, I can come up with the framework of a statement with someone.
Wow.
But your purpose is not a title and your purpose is not a cause. Based on the viewpoints and the research that I've done and what aligns with me, causes are a way for you to reflect your purpose. Your family is a way to reflect your purpose. Your purpose is something you can reflect within your work.
Okay.
But my title of being, I don't know, an engineer is not my purpose. Maybe building processes and designing things to solve complex problems, I'm not doing a very good job right now, is a vehicle in which to be able to express the purpose. An engineer is a job that allows that person to do that.
Okay. The means.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yes. Yes, it does. The means to achieve your goal, which is a way of expressing your purpose, I think. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. So it's about experimentation. And you mentioned that the experiment, life is an experiment. I love that. And we can do that every day. And especially these days where we are working online, and the internet actually allows us to experiment all the time because we can speak with different people and different audiences, and we can experiment different projects, and that's a great way to experiment and then see if you can work your own purpose and a way of expressing your own purpose, and then you can find your own personal brand, the one that you want people to see, the way you want to be perceived, right?
Yeah, and the personal brand is the way that you can speak into. You've got your purpose, which is your driving force. And then your personal brand is how you articulate that and bring that forward in the world. And it's also connecting with what is that legacy, like what is the impact that I want to make. So like those are really important questions when you're starting to figure out who you are. Like, what is the difference that I want to make?
So good, so great. All right, I have one last question, Jessica.
Okay.
If we were to, well, you, of course, you the expert, if you were to give a tip and advice to whoever's watching right now, that would help them achieve a small result in the next week or so, something that they could do today or tomorrow, but we don't want them to put it off. We want them to do it today. Like something that they could do today that would help them understand a little better how they can improve their personal brand. Would you have like a recommendation, a tip, something that they could use to have like a small win?
So are you looking for a tool, an
Yeah, a
exercise, a
tool or an
thought process?
exercise. Yeah, a tool, an exercise, or a tip, just an advice, something that they could really use today or tomorrow to help them improve their personal brand and understand who they really are, to be perceived the way they want.
I think first of all it's an evolving process, to be gentle on yourself, and it's not easy. So take it step by step, layer by layer, and be gentle on yourself. That's the foundation.
Not easy.
Yeah. And then in terms of, getting closer to it, start paying attention to your strengths, start paying attention to where you're losing track of time, when you're in your zone, when you're in your flow, when you're operating in your genius, and keep track of that. Don't judge it, just notice it. And you're going to start to see commonalities and themes. And, you might have a spreadsheet if you like spreadsheets. You might have it in a journal. You might have 500 different words coming at it, and you can start to theme them and gather them and bring them together. And when I work with my clients, we take a look at all these different dimensions of themselves, and then I somehow have a way to categorize it. And then they're themed, and they go into 3 different themes. And then out of that, we find 3 different words that reflects those themes and all the qualities within that. So they have 3 really powerful words that are very authentic and meaningful, that they can put on their LinkedIn profile, that they can put in their resume, that they can put in their bio, that they can put on your webpage. That then becomes 3 anchors in the reflection of your brand.
Wow, that's great.
Does that help?
It does, yes. That's great. So if we want to reach you, where we can reach you, your social, your website, you can, well, of course, I'm going to put here in the comments, I'm going to put the link to reach you. But if you want to tell us where we can find you and know a bit more about what you do and how you can help us, where can we find you?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jack. My website is wealth.eco, and it's WELLTH.eco. The tagline is building inner richness for global good, because as we build our intrinsic goodness and greatness, we can bring more goodness to the world. So you can go to my website, and that's probably the easiest way. And Jack can include my email. It's jessica@wealth.eco. So feel free to reach out. I love this stuff, and so happy to help and serve. And to all of you who are watching, I really encourage you to just be an experimenter, be gentle on yourself, be courageous. It's not easy.
I know.
We'll get there. And it takes persistence. It takes trial and error. It takes resilience. But the opportunity to serve people from an authentic and genuine place is really such a powerful way to make the world a better place. And that's, I think, all of us embedded in our purpose is a fundamental driver. I think we all want to make the world a better place.
So good. Amazing. Yeah, I agreed. 100, 200%. That's what we all want. It's a common will. It's a common wish. And we can do it by being ourselves. That was so great, Jessica. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to put the links here so people can reach you and your website and your email also. And thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be in this super powerful and rich conversation. Thank you.
Super fun. And thank you. And I wish you all the best. May you have nuggets of inspiration throughout the rest of the week.
Thank you.